episode number 3.
Yep.
Which is, what are we doing? We're doing workups.
Are we recording now?
We've already pressed record, Paul.
All right.
Yeah. So we're just going to go with it.
Yeah, man.
I've got to remember to keep the microphone in front of my face, otherwise I get those horrible fade in and outs. But we're talking about what you guys do best. Workup fishing, slow jigging.
Yeah. Workups. Well, slow jigging, it's kind of where it started, kind of. Shall I tell you the story?
Yeah. Tell us the story. Tell us
Well,
the
what I
ocean.
first want to say is, the whole point of this podcast is to teach people how to catch bigger fish, because there's quite a few little milky ones around at the moment, how to target those bigger fish. And also trip planning. Yeah. And trip planning is all about, maximising your chances of being there at the right time when the fish bite. Yeah. Because when there's so much bait around, they're not eating all the time. So you want to be there when they are eating. So at the end, I will talk through the podcast, and at the end, I'll give you some of my favourite workup spots as well.
Workup spots.
Yeah.
At the end.
There's actually...
So you're going to have to watch all the way to the end of the video to get Paul's spots.
Yeah, I want to tell you, I'm not going to tell you to the end so you watch the video.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because there are some areas that hold workups often.
Yeah, I heard there might be a giveaway at the end as well.
A giveaway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
What are you going to give away? You for the night?
I don't know. We'll find something to give away. I'm sure from this pile of ocean angler gear we can find something to give away.
Find something to give away. That's a good idea.
Give us the history. What's the ocean angler? Where did it come from?
The history. So I used to live in Florida. I lived in Florida in Fort Lauderdale for 9 years, and I was running super yachts and fishing boats in Florida. And that's when I got the taste for lure fishing, because I got into the bass fishing with the worms and the worm hooks and the light gear. And I had one of the guys who was on the boat with me. He had a little boat. He was from Florida, little pontoon kind of boat. So we used to burn around all the Everglades, catching bass. So that's when I got a real passion for soft baiting back then. Yeah. And then I came back to New Zealand. I was getting a bit hectic living over there for too long. So came back to New Zealand and hooked up with a friend of mine, and he had a Riviera called Eagle Magic. And so I started doing charters on his Riviera, and I didn't want to use any bait because I was into lure fishing now.
And it was a Riviera.
I said, I don't want to use bait on here. So I started, how am I going to fish these 40, 50 metre zones with lures? All that was around at that point was like lethal lures and things like that. How am I going to get these rubber things down 50 metres? So I started thinking. Then one day, most of my ideas usually come late at night, 3 p.m. in the morning when I'm half awake, half asleep, and I thought of the Cyclops rig. Yeah. So I got one made, the Cyclops rig. It was just a sinker with Luma paint on it with a worm hook on it, so I could put my soft baits on it. Yep. And came up with that and took it out, and it really worked well. We were catching lots and lots of fish. Yeah. And then I met another mate of mine whose father was actually importing a lot of stuff from China. He was one of the first guys in New Zealand to do it. He said, well, why don't we get this thing that you've made and we'll try and produce it and sell it in some shops. I said, okay. So we got a few samples. I went round to lots of shops. Most of them told me, mate, you're wasting your time. You've got the big Japanese corporate companies. You're not going to be able to take them on, which made me even more determined to go. So I probably would have been turned down at least a dozen times before one shop said yes, which was old John W.S. Lorries, who used to be doing that. So he gave me a go. Yeah. So I put them in his shop. I was on fishing.net at that point, and I told a few people about it. He sold out. Yeah. He's ringing a couple and said, mate, I need more of them. And so it kind of all started from there. Yep. So it was about me having the gear to go charter fishing. Yeah. And I really don't like things that break. So right from the start, it was all about durability, because when you're a charter captain and something breaks, you have to work more. You have to stop looking after your clients. You have to rig it up again. So it was really important that things didn't break. And then I went to, so at that point I was actually using, gulps on the Cyclops and stuff. Yep. So then my mate, I'm in business with, he said, you should start going traveling to the fishing shows. So I went to the ICAST show, and that's when I met Z-Man right in the early stages. And so started trying. I remember bringing them back to Auckland and trying them, and they had no scent on them then. They were okay.
Yeah.
But then they released the 5-inch jerk shads with a scent on them, and I took those out to Rangitoto Channel. I still remember the day. I took them out to Rangitoto Channel, and it was just, bang, bang, bang. These are as good as any other soft bait around, and they're durable. Hey, we've got something here. So then took those to the retail shops, and the first thing they was saying was, well, I'm not going to make as much money, am I? Because... the other brand, they come back buy heaps of them and I make lots of money. And these ones are going to use them all day. But it's that from that point onwards, I realised I made a kind of a, what would you call it? Kind of a promise to myself. Hey, I'm going to look after the fishermen. Yeah. That's my first priority, is looking after my own kind, which is the fishermen. And so that's the journey I kind of went on with the durability. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how Ocean Angler started.
Yeah, I think I've still got a couple of the old unscented packets of Z-Mans in my garage. Yeah. In fact, last week I found a packet of the lizards.
There you go.
The blue lizards.
Yeah, so they were a thing.
They must be 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, 12, 13 years old. Yeah. So Ocean Angler's about 14, 15 years old now. Yeah. Yeah. So then we just carried on developing products, and a lot of it was, so I was still doing some charter work as well, 1 or 2 days a week. Yep. So I had a really good platform to test lures on. Yeah. So unknown to the clients, they were actually testing my lures, because I'd have 5 in a row, all in the same place. Hey, this is such a good way to test. That's how I was testing everything. Yeah. Doing that. And I got right into UV as well. That's when I got into UV paint. So hooked up with a company in America. And I was sending UV paint from America to China to put, so all my lures have got a UV silicate on, which I didn't talk too much about, because that's what gave them the edge.
And now we've got this huge range of lures.
Now we've got this huge range of lures, and then the next part of the journey was owner hooks. Yeah. So I've always wanted owner hooks on my lures. Yeah. And the guy I first did business with in China, who was making the jig heads, he emailed me when I said, I'm the new agent for owner in my area of China. Do you need any owner hooks? I just went, yes, mate, I do. Yeah. And so now we just get the best hooks we can for all our lures. Not the jig heads, but all the other lures are all owner, Teflon coated. The best ones we can get, so we're always ahead of the technology. If something new comes out, we're into it with owner. So we've got a great relationship with those guys.
They make a bloody sharp hook.
Yeah, so it's...
I've had a few in there.
Yeah, so our little hooks, they're super sharp, so be very careful of them if you're doing. But I reckon they're the best hooks on the market for the jigs that we're doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. Shall we talk about the reason we're here? Workup fishing.
Yeah, workup fishing.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with trip planning, because trip planning is so important, because there's so much bait around, all these fish are sitting around, and they don't feed all day. Yeah. They feed during certain tides, moons, all that stuff. So let's go over that, so you can start choosing the best day to go fishing to maximise your chances of catching fish and workups.
Yeah, good idea.
So the first one, we'll start out wide and we'll narrow it right down into just a few hours a day to go fishing. Yep. So let's start with seasons. So the best season is now, which is spring. Yep. And the reason for that is the water temperature is slowly rising, and the pilchards come into the Hauraki Gulf, which is a big fish trap. Yep. All the whales, the dolphins, everything follows them. The snapper underneath, it's all go at the moment. That's spring. The next season is summer. It's not so good for workups, especially during the midsummer when it's really hot. So the water temperature's up really high. It's really stable. Yep. Not much happens for workups. That's the worst time of year is summer. And then after summer is autumn. Once again, change of temperature. That's what we're looking for to get these bites going, is when the water temperature's changing. So something's changing. So back end of summer, water starts to drop away. You have another bite. Yep. And then through the middle of winter, you can have good workups as well. They tend to be a bit further out. There's always been this theory that the snapper leave the Hauraki Gulf during winter. But I reckon I'm starting to think they go to that area between the Mokes and Little Barrier, that 70 to 90 metre zone, because in wintertime, that's where they kind of hang out, and that's where they kind of start in the first part of spring, is way out in that deep water. Yeah. And I'm thinking, 30, 40 years ago, we didn't have boats to go out that far. So we were only going going to the Noises was a going a long way out.
Yeah.
So we never ventured out to those areas. So I reckon they only go that far, then they come back in again. So that's your winter. So that's the season. So the best times, spring and autumn.
Yeah. Perfect.
The next one, oh, you want to say something?
No, it's good. Keep going.
So then you've got the moon phases. So quite a bit of controversy around moon phases. And the reason, there's a bit of controversy about what's right, what's wrong, is it's because it's not always the same. What I'm going to tell you now is generally what I've experienced over doing it for 15, 20 years down the Harry Gulf. But I can say it and then I can be proven wrong. Yeah. So these are all just theories that I've kind of come up with from just fishing so many times in workups. Yeah. So the moon. So let's start at the new moon. So in my experience, leading up to the full moon, the new moon, you get a bite. It's not the best bite of the month, but you get a bite on the new moon or a day or two after it closes down. And then you've got the full moons next, so it starts to build up to the full moon. And I reckon from about 10 days before the full moon until the full moon or a day or two after, that's the best bite. And it increases in intensity as you get closer to that moon. But all of a sudden it shuts down. And that shutdown can be on the full moon, can be a day after the full moon, or even 2 days after the full moon. Sometimes it doesn't even happen. Yeah. But generally, that's what's happening. I've been trying to figure out for years, why is it not always on the day of the full moon? Why is it sometimes a day after or 2 days after? And I think it's got something to do with the weather on that day, the cloud cover on that day, if they've been feeding, because the theory is they're feeding at nighttime when the moon's up. So if there's clouds over the moon or something and they can't, so there's so many different variables. I think that's what makes the range of when this bite shuts down. Yeah. But I have, so many times I've seen it. Like I won't go fishing it after the full moon because the chances of you having a bad bite are way higher than going before the full moon. So now you can start narrowing it down per month. When is the best time to go fishing for this month? So it's that 10 days up to the full moon. That's the best time. That's the best third of the month to go fishing. So when you're looking for time off, that's when you start planning it. Yep. Yeah?
Yep. Perfect.
Now we can narrow it down to tides. So now we're down to the per day. So we've done the whole year, we've done month, now we're down to the day. Yeah. Yeah. So the best time to go work up fishing in the Hauraki Gulf is the last half of the outgoing tide. Tide's going out.
Last half of the outgoing?
The last half of the outgoing tide is generally the very best time to go. Yeah. And I say that it's on the outgoing, and that's because our prevailing wind is a southwesterly. Yeah. So it lines up with the outgoing tide. Yeah. So wind against tide, not so good for workup fishing. Yeah. So last half of the outgoing tide, southwesterly wind. So what I reckon happens is let's start at, say, high tide or just before high tide. So just before let's start at high tide. So at high tide, the current stopped. Generally, the fish stop feeding, and then the tide starts to go out. That first kind of current, because it comes in waves. When a tide starts, it comes in a wave. Yeah. Kind of go bush, and then it'll slow down and go bush, and then mid tide will be flying all the time. So when you get those first little kind of peaks of the current starting, the fish will have a feed. Yeah. So you're at high tide. It's just starting to go out. You'll have a bit of a bite then. Yeah. And then through the middle of the tide, when the current's constant, you'll have a bite, but it's not as intense as that first bit. Yeah. And now the best part of both tides is when that current starts to slow down. So the fish are going, oh no, this is the end of this feeding period. Let's have a feed up. Yeah. So it's that last half of the outgoing tide, and just before low tide is usually when the whole area lights up. Yeah? Yeah. So southwesterly, outgoing, northeasterly, incoming to get everything going the right way. So I'll often go work up fishing, and I know on a weekend that everyone's going at 9 o'clock. If low tide's not till 2 in the afternoon, I won't go till 12. Yeah. So it's not about getting up early in the morning. It's about planning it with your seasons, your moon, your tide. And now you can really dial in to when you should go work up fishing.
Good way to skip the traffic at the boat ramp as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not always first thing in the morning. So just be there for that last half of the outgoing. Yeah. And you will improve your catch rate straight away. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And weather-wise, Do you notice any difference between a bright sunny day and a overcast day? Or
no, I don't. I haven't noticed that. I know on the real balmy days when there's no wind, the gannets don't fly around as much. I think they need a bit of wind to help them get up off the water.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that those calm days can be a lot slower than just a little bit of, 5-10 knots is perfect for workup fishing. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so we've got a time dialed in there.
So you've got your time dialed in. So now you can go to your calendar. You can pretty much plan your
plan my work week.
So the next this month, was it September, October, November? So now you know the last, what is it? The before the full moon. Yeah. So there's 3 weeks there that you should be planning to go workup fishing if you want to
get the annual
do
leave
really
in.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. What are we on to next?
So then we've got the weather.
Yep.
So I can do that on my laptop if you want. Okay. So this is windy. I use quite a lot to get a general. This one I use for looking for weather like windows. Yeah. As you can see, this is knots and different shades of colours. Blues, calm. Green's like medium. Red gets a bit windy. So I start scrolling through. What's happened there? Oh, there's no information. I'm offline. Hang on. Let me hook into my phone.
Good old windy.
Yeah, so here we go. So what you're looking for is, it's quite sensitive to use this windy, is areas where it's got less wind. So that's like today. So you can see at 1 p.m. up here in Whangaproa Bay looks quite good. Northwesterly, Whangaproa Bay, Sandspit, Challenger, all these areas are good on a northwesterly. So I'm looking for little drops in the wind. Here you go. You can see there a little bit right out in the middle by Anchorite at 4 p.m. today. Looks a little bit lighter than everywhere else. So this is how I plan where I'm going to go. And then we get 7 p.m. tonight at Tuesday Custard, so you want to be home by then. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. So I go through windy, just looking for windows of opportunity. Yeah. And I want my tide and my wind going the same way. So the other one I use to do that one, I check my tides, and I check my tides on Swell Map on this kind of boat feature. So I'm looking here at the tides. And the tides are important because I want to get them going the same way as the wind. Here you can see, so I use this screen because I can see the wind directions that way, what's the tide doing at that particular time. So it's all westerlies. So I want to fish the outgoing tide, yeah? So high tides at, 6 o'clock in the morning. The last half of the outgoing will be 6, 7, 8, 9. So on this particular day here, I've got outgoing westerly winds, outgoing tide. The last half is that little period there. So I want to be fishing from, say, 9 until midday-ish. Yep. That's when I'd go fishing that day. Yep. I wouldn't go before that. I wouldn't go after that. That's exactly when I'd go. Yeah. Because I can get my fish I want in 3 or 4 hours. Yep. You can get it all done in that amount of time. But this is why trip planning is so important. Because if you go the wrong time, your chances of catching fish just diminish. Yeah, definitely. Big time. Yeah. So trip planning. So I'm always, when I'm fishing the next day, I'm thinking that whole day about, when am I going to go? When's the best time? Where's the most comfortable conditions? Where's the tide and the wind going the same way? Yep. I need to be there for the last half of the outgoing tide. This is all just running through my head the day before. And that's why if you come fishing with me, and some people get, they get, I don't know, not angry, but they get a bit frustrated with me because I'll change the departure time. Yeah. Or I'll change, because I'll get the latest weather update. Yeah, yeah. And so it's all about timing. It's so important for workup fishing. Yeah.
With that information, you don't have to be staying out there all day in the hot sun. No. Get out there, get it done.
Yeah. Depends what your mission is for the day, I guess. If you want to have a nice cruisy day out, sure. Go but for that bite period, you want to be fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So if you're in an area, so if you get there and you're there just before that bite time and everything's there, don't leave.
Yeah.
If there's gannets, bait, dolphins there, and they're just cruising around, just don't leave.
Yeah.
The old saying, once you find the bait, stay with it.
Yeah.
Because generally, the whole Harry Golf lights up at the same time. Like you'll be on the radio, it's all dead. Then everyone, the workups just started here, workup starts here. Yeah. So it all kind of, so that's, to me, it's nature. Yeah. It's like the moon and the wind and all the stuff is so important to get it right. And that's why, they can't talk to each other. One workup, one end of the Gulf and the other, but they all start up at the same time.
It's like the dinner bell's been rung.
Yeah, it's like, when you go marlin fishing and then all of a sudden everyone starts catching fish on the radio. It all happens at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's bite time's really important, especially for workups. And I think some people think because there's so much bait and so much action that you can just go anytime you want. Yeah. But it's far from the truth. Yeah. You have to go at the right time.
Yeah. Sweet. We talked about the pilchards coming into the Gulf, right?
Yeah.
Are they coming in? You talk here about convergence zones.
Okay, let's talk about. So let's go switch over to the map. So let's talk about convergence zones. So convergence zones is where the zooplankton, which is like vegetable kind of plant plankton, meets the animal plankton and starts off the feeding frenzy of a workup. Yeah. So there's certain areas where that happens, and then we call them convergence zones. So in the Hauraki Gulf, the convergence zones are that, I reckon they're convergence zones, and talking to my mate who used to drive the whale watch boat, I used to get a lot of information from him. This is where we reckon they are. Yep. So the first one is, can I zoom in there? So the first one is here, the elbow. So we call this the elbow. Yeah. So many times you'll hear the elbow's going off. There's workups of the elbow. For those of you who don't know, we call it the elbow because this is the no cable zone, and it's the where it turns. Looks like an elbow, and it's on the outside of the elbow. And you'll see there's a little wreck there as well. So around this area here. So on the outgoing tide, all the nutrient plant plankton is coming out through the Rangitoto channel in between Noises and Tiri, and it hits the animal plankton, which is the shrimps and stuff that are eating it about here, we reckon. And you'll often see our changing the water colour here as well, especially on the outgoing tide. And so that starts the feeding frenzy. So then the plants get eaten by the shrimps, and the shrimps get eaten by the jackmacks or the pilchards, and so it all starts from there. This is the start of it. So there's one there.
Yeah, bit of a hot spot for skippies over summer, eh?
Yeah.
So there must be a lot of
So there's something going on here because it's so often, and if you go out, any day in the week, you'll see a lot of boats here. Yeah. The other place, it's 5 miles north of Gannet Rock, so about here. So the water's coming out through the Motahi Channel between Gannet Rock and the Noises, comes out to here, and it's around about here. There's another convergence zone as well. So if you tie those together, there's one there, right? There's one there. So this area through here is the convergence zone. So this is where you start looking first. Yeah. So what you do, so when I go out workup fishing, I'll usually come through the Motahi channel. This is if I don't have any, latest intel that's going off here, which I often do, as I'll come out through here. So if you're first starting out and you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do, come out through the Motahi channel, come out to the convergence zone. So, once you get out to it, it's about 42 metres. And how often have you heard people say it's happening at 42 metres, right? 42 metre zone. Why is it 42 metres? Yeah. It's because this is where the convergence zones are. Yeah. Right around here is 42 metres. So get out to 42 metres, and then you need to go into fish finding mode, which is looking for fish sign. Yeah. Fish sign can be things like splashes on the surface, it can be a whale spout, it can be a group of boats, it can be gannets diving in, it can be bait on your screen, whale spouts, I think I already said that one, which is probably my favourite one. So you really got to get out to here and then just chill for a second. Just take it all in. You can often pick up what's happening just by looking, and get your binoculars out. I use 7x50s, like the yellow ones you sell here. Yep. You don't want them too strong. If they're too strong, they're too wobbly on the horizon. You can't see anything. So 7x50s, those yellow and black ones are my favourite ones. Yeah. So get those ones, and start with your binoculars. So this is your piece of magic kit. Like workup fishing with no binoculars is your success rate is going to just dive. Yeah. So you need to look after these binoculars. So you tune them to your own eyes. I don't let anyone use them. And so they're all clean. I've practiced at home. I've focused them on the horizon. And you need to start looking deep into the binoculars and looking at the horizon. Because when you first start looking at binoculars, you actually look not too far away from the boat. You have to focus your eyes on the horizon. And you start scanning around. So you go round like this. As soon as you see something, oh, there's fish sign. Keep on going around more and see what the best fish sign is. And then start going that way. Now, a little trick, because it's really easy to go like that. Well, for me, because I've got, bad short-term memory, go like that. By the time you muck around, you might have pulled the sand around and start, you go, oh, where was it? And you might have only seen one little speck of gannet. You might have seen one little speck on the horizon, and you can lose that position so easily. So you always want to look up. If there's land in the back, take a landmark. Say, okay, it's on top of that mountain. Even a cloud, just something so you can remember for like a minute or two of exactly which way to go.
Yeah.
So then you start going in that direction. Start heading into that direction. I reckon you can see fish sign through your binoculars about 2 to 3 miles. So what I do now is I'll go 2 to 3 miles and stop the boat again and start looking around for fish sign again. And I might find some better fish sign going that way, so I'll actually change course. So if you come out fishing me once again, you might think I'm a bit mad because I'll go that way. I might even go back the same way again. But so that's how you find them. That's how you find, by focusing on that fish sign and going in that direction. Yeah, that's how I do it.
Sweet. And you're looking for gannets rather than any
gannets,
other birds?
So you're not looking for snapper.
Yeah.
You're looking for birds and you're looking for bait when you work up fishing. And so you need to know where the gannets live as well. So let's have a look on the map where the gannets actually live. So you have a gannet colony here, Gannet Rock.
Gannet Rock.
Very well known. There's another one over here on that rock there. Guess what that one's called? Gannet Island.
Oh.
So you got Gannet Rock and Gannet Island. So if you're fishing out of Auckland, these are the two main ones you want to focus on unless you're going to Great Barrier where there's another one. So let's have a quick look where that one is on Great Barrier. So there's one here, right there, on that rock there. And then there's a smaller one on Motuora, which I think is more of like a man-made one. They're trying to build it up. There's one there as well. So these gannets don't just randomly set up a nest, let's just set it up here, Gary the gannet. They know to set it up where the bait is. So there's a gannet colony there and a gannet colony there. A great place to look for workups to be right in the middle of them. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you'll often see gannets and workups. And they call this the mouth of the Firth. So when you hear there's gannets that works in the mouth of the Firth, this is where they will be. So when I get out to here, I'm looking for that fish sign. Let's talk about gannet behaviour. So you can tell a lot from a gannet by the way he's flying, by his kind of attitude. They're on their colony and then they take off and they go in little squadrons, like 3 or 4 birds. Yep. Just go off and they go fly, and then Gary will take off and fly for a bit, and then another squadron will take off. I've watched them, and then they start playing follow the leader. So they play follow the leader wherever they're going. So if you're looking, that is a really good fish sign. So you see little groups of 3 or 4 gannets. One there, look behind them, there's another group. They're playing follow the leader, so go and play follow the leader as well. Yeah.
Just jumping behind them and
they're
always down low as well, eh?
Yeah, so they're down low.
Yeah.
Now if they're down low and they're going fast and using the water to get lift, they know exactly where they're going. So especially if you can kind of tell, they look excited. Yeah. And they've seen a workup and they're going flat out there. So that's one of the gannet behaviours. So if you see that, just follow them. Even if you can't see anything, just follow them. The other behaviour I see out there is when these groups of gannets, there's one by how they're kind of popping up. So they're flying and they just pop up and have a look around. To me, that makes me think they're looking as well. They don't know which way they're going, but they're going up and looking. So if I see that, I'm kind of a little bit excited. But I do think to myself, again, it's got a lot better chance of finding a workup than I have. So I'll put my faith into the gannet rather than me. So that's one of the behaviours. Another behaviour is, we call it sifting gannets. So there you'll see a whole lot of gannets kind of spread out, and they just bomb here and there. That's usually Jack Mac. So still a good area to have a fish, but not like the action of a workup. Yeah. And then the kind of behaviour that you really want to find is when they're all piling in. I call it the conveyor belt, where they're just piling in. They take off into the wind, gain height, come back, dive in, and they just keep on doing that until it ends, kind of deal.
And that big bird tornado almost, eh?
Bird tornado. Yeah. And, the past 2 years we haven't been out much because of COVID and then the bad weather last summer. Yeah. But I can tell you now, in the past 2 fishing trips, it's some of the best workups I've seen for many years.
It was pretty hectic out there last Wednesday.
It's hectic.
Yeah.
There's so many fish, so much bait, so many gannets, dolphins everywhere, whales everywhere. It's just, we're so lucky to live in this part of the world for the uniqueness of the Hauraki Gulf, how it's like a basin, a big bait fish trap. So to experience these workups, it's good fun just even being there.
It's an unreal fishery.
It's an unreal thing. Yeah. And it pretty much a workup is, I've heard people say it before, it's like a sign in the middle of the ocean saying, there's fish here. Yeah. There's fish here. Yeah. You can't really go wrong.
Yeah. And if you can't see the sign, you just look on Paul's Facebook page and that'll tell you where to go, won't it?
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Yeah. Because I do get a bit of flack sometimes about giving away information about the bait schools. Yeah. But to me, I want people to, they don't see the emails or the reports I get, like some guy, he's gone out and he's been struggling for years. Yeah. And I've told him what to do, where to go. And he's caught some fish and his family's caught some fish and he's so happy. Yeah. So that's my payback. Yeah. Is seeing the smile on some guy's face that he's gone out in his boat, spent all this money, hasn't been doing well. I've given him a few pointers, said go here, mate. And the joy it brings to people. Yeah. It's so good.
I feel like you / Ocean Angler are probably the people that have normalised sharing fishing information. Yeah. Because 15, 20 years ago, everybody was just mouth shut. Yeah. Not telling you where I was fishing. Yeah. But why? There's so many fish out there.
Why? Yeah. And these aren't and these fish move every day. Yeah. So it's just a general area. It's not like your favourite hair pocket spot or something like that. I'm not going to give away my favourite hair pocket spot. But areas of bait, there's so much room. Everyone can enjoy it, and catch fish. Yeah, yeah. And there's so many snapper. Yeah. There's a crazy amount of snapper. There's, to me, I've been out there past 20 years. Right now, there's so many. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, you can pretty much go anywhere in the Hauraki Gulf at the moment in 40 to 50 metres and drop a lure down and you catch a fish. Yeah. Maybe not a big one, but you'll catch fish within a minute.
I think people would be surprised. If they pulled the plug on the Hauraki Gulf, I think people would be surprised by how many fish are actually in there, right? Yeah. There's just everywhere from 5 metres of water to...
Yeah, there's so many fish. Yeah. And social media is just a new way of sharing information. Like, probably if we went back to the, caveman days even, I'm sure the men would be sharing where they hunted, where they caught fish. Yeah. It's just what men and women do.
Community, right?
It's community. We share the information so we can all catch fish. Yeah. And there's no shortage of fish. No. Not in the Hauraki Gulf. Yeah. So that's why I share it. Yeah. Yeah. So I like to see people enjoy themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely to be out there catching fish. What else can we get into? How about before we start fishing the workups, the workup etiquette?
Workup etiquette. So that's
I
a good thing. Yeah. So I think a lot of it comes from people just don't know what to do. Yeah. And so I've seen people drive into the middle of a workup. They had no idea they even did it. So the first part of how to address it is to be a bit lenient on people, because some people, it might have been the first workup they've ever seen in their life. And it is really exciting. Yeah. You see a workup, you just want to floor it and get there as fast as you can. So what you need to do is figure out which way you're going to drift, and then I go up onto the workup and I'll drift down one side of it. Try not to drift through the middle of it unless you really have to. If you're there by yourself and you want to have a real cool experience, sure. But if there's other boats around, you don't want to ruin it for everyone. So drift down one side. And then if it doesn't work on that side, because sometimes you get an area that the fish are actually holding compared with the workup. So the workup's here, and you got the current maybe going that way, so the fish might be here. So I'll drift down one side and see where I start catching the most fish, and I'll note that. Okay, so I'm at this angle to the workup, I'm this distance away. This is where the fish should be for every workup for that tide if the conditions don't change. So if I go down one side and I don't catch anything, I'll go down the other side. So figure out where the best part of the workup to be is. So do that. And then if you're drifting, if you're say what's that? There's a lure. Say that's a boat and you're drifting that way. The unpolite thing to do is to come and park or drift in front of the way he's going, because that's where he's going next. So you may not, a lot of people don't realise this. So you park there, you're drifting where he's going next. So you pretty much just dropped in on him and just took his fishing spot. Yeah. So the polite thing to do is pop behind him and drift where he's already been, or drift to the side of him and drift along. Do that. And people won't get angry at you at all. Not like, one of the best fishing experiences I had was probably the live I did the other day. You may have seen it. Dead calm, big workup, weekend, heaps, probably 30, 40 boats at the same place. I'm going, oh no, this is not going to go good. But it actually was one of the best fishing experiences I've ever had. Yeah. Because everyone was so happy that summer's here, that it's calm, that the fish, finally we get to go fishing. And there was things happening like when someone would catch a big fish, they'd start hooting, everyone would go join and start hooting. There was lots of up the wires calls. There was just a general feeling of good times out there. Yeah. So if you are in one of those situations, make the most of it. Let's hear some banter. Yeah. Let's start chatting with other people. Yeah. It is really good fun. So you can make those experiences, not a bad thing. It can be a good thing. Yeah. There's a lot of people, I don't want to go, there's too many boats, but just try it. Yeah. It can be really good fun, especially if you in a bunch of boats and you catch a big fish, You've got a lot of people to show off to. Yeah. Hey, so especially my kids, they love doing it. They love going in groups because they can catch fish and they go, look, Dad, I'm showing off, you know. So you can show off. Yeah. In those groups. So don't be afraid of fishing in groups of boats. And you'll see on that video, it didn't stop the gannets going in. Yeah. They were diving all around the boat. Like if you burn into it, sure. Yeah. But if you just slowly drift and then they come to you, it's just so much fun. Yeah. So the etiquette is just look after each other, be forgiving, and don't drop it on people's drifts. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
I think just a bit of observation as you come up to a workup. There's people already fishing it. Just watch what they're doing. Yeah. A lot of the time you can... Yeah, you can see, they're all fishing a line, and then you can just drop in the back of it, and and try and figure out where that bait ball actually is. Like it's pretty obvious when the gannets are diving in. Yeah, but after that, you often see the little blackbirds dancing around with the workup that's on top of the bait ball. All the shearwaters will be sitting there, and they'll just be ducking their head in, looking. Yeah. So that's a bait ball. So don't drive into that. Yeah, because you probably will get a few people angry if you drive into the bait ball. So just be careful. Yeah. And there's no rush. There's no rush. There's going to be another workup after this one. Yeah, yeah. So you don't need to rush. Yeah. And I always stay after the workup. So you've been a workup, it's stopped, the birds start to dissipate, the boats start to dissipate. Often, that's when you get the big fish. Yeah. Yeah. And the exhaust. So I like to stay there. The workup, I like to be the guy that stays there the longest and is not always the first to the next workup. Yeah. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
We better get into some of the gear. For workup fishing, let's start with...
the rods.
Let's start with the rods.
So I don't know if we've got a bender here today.
I haven't got a bender here.
But quite a good story about the bender. So that's when I was charter fishing. So I believe that snapper don't like lures moved around hard, sharply. Yeah. They just like things to slowly waft around. They don't... You can tell by the shape, and they're lazy, they're fat. They don't want to chase things around. They're like, they're fat, they're lazy, they're scavengers. They don't want to chase stuff around. Kingfish, koa, sure, they love lures darting all over the place. But snapper, I believe they like things to move slowly around. So when I was charter fishing, I would explain this to my clients. Please, just fish slowly and you'll catch more fish. 30% of them, nah, they can't, doing all this kind of stuff. And they wouldn't catch as many fish. And you'd get, usually their wife who would listen to me. And she would do it slow, and sure, she would start catching more fish. So I thought, how can I fix this problem? What about a real bendy rod? Then they start going on that, and nothing's going to happen on the other end to the lure. So that's how the bender came up. Yeah. So it was for charter fishing to stop these guys doing all this stuff. They could do it, but it doesn't make a difference. And they started catching more fish straight away and bigger fish. I actually put a bit of a gimmicky warranty on it. Said if you don't catch more fish, I'll give you your money back. Because I truly believe that having that real bendy rod for slow jigging you catch more fish.
Yeah.
And with the little tiny hooks, they're tiny, like the own hooks are the best ones we can get, super sharp. They're tiny, but they can rip out.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be
Kind of takes
striking and all that
the
stuff.
shock out of it, eh?
Take all the shock out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's really important to have a real bendy rod.
Yeah.
Our rod has got an S-glass tip on the end, which is stronger than the carbon, a bit more forgiving, so great for your kids or, kind of beginner fishermen, because you can point load it a lot more.
Yeah.
And you will catch more fish if you use a bender. Yeah. So there's my little tip. There's my little shameless plug.
You did the bender and then you did the spinder.
I did the spinner. So what happened there is quite a few people, that was kind of a period where people were using spinning reels in the deep. And so I got people asking for a bender that I can put a spin reel on. So that's how that came about. And that's turned into a really good rod for kids.
Yeah.
Because it folds away and it doesn't put much leverage on the kids.
Yeah. So for workup fishing, your preference is overhead sets rather than spin?
I'm going to show you a new lure soon, and I've started using spin for that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but for sliders, fish fingers, G-bombs, overhead, size 8 to 10 reel, and a bender rod, or a rod that's very bendy on the end.
Very bendy.
Yeah.
Sweet. So 8, 10, 12 size reels.
Yep. So just small reels. You don't need huge reels. You don't need big drag either.
Yep.
Like I'm fishing, maybe 1-2 kilos of drag.
Do you prefer a round overhead or a bait caster style?
No, I don't like bait casters out the deep because the spool is so small.
Yeah.
You have to wind it like flat out to get any line up. So bait casters, it's all in the name. They're for casting.
Yeah.
So I use the it's a Penn Fathom 8.
Yeah.
I use that one.
Yeah.
And that's because I like the size of it, and I'm a bit rough on my gear.
Yeah.
So I really like the expensive reels as well, but I tend to break them, so I don't go for the real flash reels.
Yeah.
But I do have to have a bendy rod.
Yeah. There's some nice little slow jig reels on the market though.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the latest ones.
Yeah.
My reels, I can replace them every 3 or 4 years, so I'm coming up for a.
That Penn's a nice little reel though, for the price of it as well.
Yeah.
Bang for buck.
Well, when I was charter fishing, I needed, reels that are robust.
Yeah.
I love the high end stuff as well, like everyone does. But for me, because I'm leaning my gear out all the time, and I don't want to risk breaking a real expensive reel.
Yeah. So that's rods and reels. Braid. We're always fishing braid.
Always braid. Yeah. Real easy.
Yeah. You
20 pound braid, 20 pound leader.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the standard.
And it's it's always the Ocean Angler pink ghost fluorocarbon.
Oh, that's what I use because I get it for free. But any good quality fluorocarbon is going to do it.
You know my favourite thing about this?
What? Oh, you like the spool?
I like that you can stack them together.
Yeah.
Because it means that all my leaders are in one place rather than...
That was a late night, one of those 3 p.m. wake up and think of an idea moments.
And the band.
Yeah.
Yeah. That band, so it doesn't all come unwrapped.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, we're actually out of stock, but we're getting some more soon. You get various spools, they all clip together, so you can keep them all in one place. Here's a 20 pound, except for sliders. Now where's a slider, which is this one here. So when you get up to the heavy ones, there's a hole in there, and it slides up and down on the leader, so you do get wear.
Yeah.
And so I say go up to like 40 pounds. If you're using a slider, 80 grams and above, go up to 40. If you're using the real heavy sliders, like some of the charter guys do, like the 140s, the 200s, even the 240s, go up again to 60.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it does wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way of stopping that. You may wonder why we took our inserts out. So I did so much testing with inserts. And I had every insert known to man. I would test it. I actually used to test it. We used to have an office building with a stairwell. So I'd tie the monofilm one up high and then another bit down, and I just try up and down, sit there until it kind of wore out, and I'd see what insert. That's how I tested my inserts. So, and the best one was no insert. It was just smooth lead.
Yeah.
And I got
lead's quite soft, isn't it? Anyway.
So I got a bit of stick there. Well, you're trying to save some money.
Yeah.
Not on 2 cent insert. It works better.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with those inserts falling out. You don't have to deal with them wearing out. So that's why we took the inserts out of our sliders, because it was actually through the testing, we determined that was actually the best.
Yeah.
Like, sinkers, for example, you don't have an insert in a sinker, right? And that's all it is, a sinker. Yeah.
Sweet. So braids, leaders. What's your braid to leader knot?
FG.
FG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always use FG knots.
Yeah.
I'm pretty quick at them now.
Yeah.
When I first started doing this is a pain in the ass. But now I can do it real quick.
Yeah, there's heaps of good YouTube videos on how to do FG knots.
Yeah, I can do it. I stood off the end of my fishing rod.
Yeah.
So, and then hold it with my teeth and weave it. I do it that way.
Oh, yeah, keep the tension in it with the rod.
Keep the tension with the rod, and I just do that. I can probably do it in about, a minute and a half. I reckon I can tie an FG now. But I've probably tied thousands of them though. But it's a really good knot to learn how to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And very universal using
very
top
universal.
water.
Use it for everything.
Soft baiting. Yeah.
For the top water, I use the other one.
PR?
The PR, because I've got a special fancy machine I got in Japan.
Oh.
It's the thing that spins around and ties it for you. So that's why that's quite good.
This is a real important one, the next one, the sea anchor.
Sea anchor, so many times, like for drift fishing, the most important piece of kit you have, 100% is your sea anchor.
Yeah.
I see so many guys, this would be the number one error I see people make, is the first question I ask them is, do you have a sea anchor, a decent one, and is it one of those yellow cone ones?
Yeah.
So the cone one's just a pie. How they make it's just a round piece of plastic. They cut a segment out like a pizza and they wrap it up and it's just a funnel.
Yeah.
So that is actually designed for when you lose your steering in a sailboat to keep you going straight.
Yeah.
So it's meant to be dragged through the water. So they don't have much pulling power at all, much stopping power. And the whole idea of a sea anchor is to take the factor of the wind out of your drift, not the current.
Yeah.
It's the wind, because you want to be going back and forth with the current, not going across it, because your lure looks a bit weird going across the current, right?
Yeah.
Fish swim into the current. So that's why you want to use a really good sea anchor. And that's why I came up with the handbrake, because I couldn't find a decent one.
Yep. So
the handbrake's an 8-panel parachute. It's got thinner lines that go onto the load point, so it's got less drag in the water, so it pops open better.
Yep.
It's got a float on it to stop it spinning, because if they spin they get all tangled up. And also if you lose it, it floats, it doesn't sink to the bottom. It's got a nice line to pull in, so it's a nice soft rope for the load line and the retrieve line.
Yeah. The retrieve line's essential. You see people all the time bent over the bloody gunnels trying to haul a sea anchor in without a retrieve line.
So it's called the handbrake.
Yeah.
And that's what we
will
use.
put the link down here
put
somewhere.
the link in.
Yeah, so you guys can find it. It'll either be in the description or...
But what I'm doing now, so we used to have the anchor damper, which was a connection in the load line with create a bit of stretch.
Yeah.
But I've gone a step further than that now, so I don't use that anymore. Well, how I set up is a bridle on the side of my boat. So can we pretend that's the side of the boat?
Yep.
That's the side of the boat. So I run a line from the bow to the stern along the side of the boat, and then I put a figure of 8 knot there, which is just a loop knot.
Yep.
Pull it quite tight, and then I join my load line onto that. So that creates some stretch.
Yeah.
You kind of get it? It's kind of, stretched like that, because it's like a bit like your water ski bridle set really tight. So that's how I get my stretch now. And I find by doing that, it actually stabilizes your boat on the drift, because when you're drifting along, you don't want your boat twisting like that, because what that does, that guy gets tangled, that guy gets tangled, so you want it to stay stable. So by having that bridle, it really stabilizes your drift.
Yeah, so you try and run the sea anchor off the side of the boat rather than the bow, because you see lots of people with them climbing up on the bow trying to tie it up there, or the stern, and backwards into the bloody wash.
So don't do it on the stern. That's really quite dangerous, especially when you're a bit of sea, because that end of the boat's not supposed to face the waves. It's supposed to go away from the waves. If you put it on your bow, if it's really rough or you're a bit worried or something, pop it on your bow and it'll hold your boat into the wind. But the problem with that is your lines will go underneath the boat. Yeah. So played around for years. I find on the side of the boat, probably about 1/3. If you split the boat into thirds, there's the stern, there's the bow. 1/3 of the way back from the bow is about the sweet spot. Yeah. Now, if you use that bridle system, if you leave a tag end on each end, then you can adjust it. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're not quite drifting square, you might be drifting that way and your line's going, you can, move your load point along further towards the bow because you've got a tail on each end of your bridle, so you can adjust it. So the next phase for that, which I'm starting to think about 3 p.m. in the morning, is having a little pulley system like they do on the kayaks.
Yeah, the running rig.
A running rig, so you can adjust that pull point so you are square on, because you want to be square on to your drift, so your lines go at a perpendicular angle to the side of the boat, so you can fit people, then you don't get tangled. As soon as it turns, that's when the lines get close together and you start getting tangles. Yeah. So really important to spend a bit of time getting your drift right, and use a decent sea anchor. Don't use one of those cheap, nasty cone ones, because you'll be disappointed if you spend all that money on your gear, your fuel, your boat. Have a decent sea anchor. It makes a big difference.
You want to get that drift as slow as possible.
Slow as possible.
These lures all work. They seem to work a lot better vertically than they do way out the back.
Yeah, but don't measure it on your GPS. Yeah. How fast you're doing, because if the current's going, 2 knots that way, and you're going 2 knots that way, the net result is no current. Yeah. So it's not to do with your speed across the ground. Yeah. It's all to do with taking that wind factor out of your drift, which stops you going back and forth in the current. That's the whole idea of it.
Yeah. Sweet. So, sea anchors, get a decent one.
Sea anchors, just get a good one.
Yeah. Now lure selection.
So this has changed, eh?
Yeah.
This has changed for me over since the Milky Snapper have come. Yeah. And I'm glad to say that I'm seeing way less of them now than I was a few months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had to figure out a way to avoid the smaller fish and catch the bigger fish.
Yeah.
So a lot of people claim they can do it. I've got a way that works a little bit better, and then I've got a way that works a lot better.
Yeah.
So the way that works a bit better and is worth doing is using jelly babies.
Yeah.
So when you're using your slider, any of the lures, and it's got a normal assist rig on it, the normal slider assist, and you're catching lots of fish, it's just put it down and you catch fish straight away, and then you're catching little ones, change to a jelly baby.
Yeah.
At that moment, don't be lazy, swap over straight away to a jelly baby. What happens then is you'll drop your lure down. You probably get, I would say, your bite rate will probably drop by about half. So you won't get as many bites.
Yeah.
But the fish that you do catch generally are bigger.
Yeah.
So less activity with the bites, but the ones you catch are bigger.
You reckon that's just a bigger profile for them?
I don't know. Well, if you compare it with a G-bomb assist, that's just a tiny little, looks like a little ribbon eel or something swimming along the bottom.
Yeah.
That does look a bit more bulky.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure why, but it does catch the bigger fish in the school.
Yeah.
So that's one method. Now the method, I'm so glad I've come across it, is a new lure that's going to be released soon called the Headbanger.
Yeah.
And so I work with a guy, he's actually in Gibraltar. He's a lure designer as well. We've been chatting for the past 10 years about lure designs. We always chat. And, he buys a few of my lures. And he said one day, look, I've got this lure. I think you should try it. I said, okay, send it over, mate. And I went out. I was with a young guy called Max. You might have met Max before. And we were in that situation where G-bombs, everything, just catch one after the other. Small ones, lots of small ones, And I dropped this down. A couple of up and downs, and first fish is like 20 pounds, mate.
Yeah.
20 pounds. And the second fish was like 15 pounds. And before that, we're just catching tiddlers. So then I had my mate who was actually on a boat, a guy called Robbie Edwards was out there as well. He's pretty good fisherman. I said, Robbie, mate, have a go at these lures. Tell me what you think.
Yeah.
And he put a couple on. He came better, mate, I've just caught 2 big ones. It's big, we get small ones all day. Let's put that on. I've caught big ones straight away. And so the lure, these have been well tested, as you can see, is this thing here. So that is called the Headbanger. You may have seen it on social media. So this,
focus on this camera.
So we were talking about how when you put a jelly baby on, your bite rate probably drops by half, and the size of your fish goes up a bit. With this one, your activity or bite rate probably goes down by 60-70%, but the fish that you catch are big ones. And the reason is because now we've got a big hook. So now everything changes again.
The little
Alex.
ones can't eat it.
So you get all these bites, and the little ones biting on it, and you just pull it out of their mouths, and you go up and down. You get all these little bites, and all of a sudden you just get a big whomp.
Yeah.
And so the way you fish it, so now the bendy rod doesn't work. So I'm trying to make a new rod now. You have to strike. So you have to whack it.
Yeah.
So you need a bigger rod. Probably need bigger braid. So I'm using it's still 20-pound braid, but I've gone up to 30-pound leader. And when I get a bite, I'm striking hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm dropping to the bottom. And it's not a slow wind up like with the other lures. It's a medium pace, quite fast wind up because you're trying to avoid those little ones. And this is a bit of a game changer. Yeah, it really is.
What does that
weigh? Do not catch hardly any little ones.
Yeah.
So the first batch I'm doing, they're going to be 80 gram and 100 gram heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're actually glued on.
Oh, okay.
So you replace the tails, and you get it comes with glue and some spare tails. But if you want to target big ones, not here yet, but that's the way to do it. In the meantime, jelly babies.
Jelly babies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I've got kind of 3 styles of fishing out in the deep.
Yeah.
First one, G-bombs, little tiny tail. Let's get the fish going. When they start to heat up and I'm catching, one every drop, let's go to and then I go to the jelly baby. So the next one after that will be this one next. So now you've got 3 ways of fishing out in the deep to try and target bigger fish. And the whole idea of all this stuff is to get those bigger fish in the school because we don't want those little skinny milky ones. Yeah, so that's how we're filtering through them.
Yeah.
So other lures, why do we have so many different lures? Firstly, the slider, that's like a staple diet for workup fishermen now. If all else fails, pop on a slider.
Yeah.
Not always orange, so that's a rust demand. That's one of my favourite colours.
Yeah.
That's one of the
my
only ones
favourites.
that's got a red and a green tail, so the contrast is like nuclear chicken. So if sliders, you can't go wrong. Fish finger came about to get through the carwai. We had one season where there was so many carwai in the workups that I went to Japan and spoke to a guy. He said, try this shape, gets down real fast. It's the design of this is just to get down fast.
Yeah.
So that gets through the carwai. But this turned into a lure that was catching more snapper than the sliders someday. So it's kind of had another weapon in your tackle box.
Yeah.
Sliders, fish fingers. If you want, maybe you're drifting too fast, you can't get down, try a fish finger. And then we've got the G-bombs. So this has been out for like a year or so. So this is probably the most efficient lure we sell now. And the reason it's different than the slider is because it's actually got a swimming tail now. Little swimming tail. Well, these ones are just like balls of fluff, really.
Yeah.
Like a little fly or something down there. This is actually a swimming tail. So it swims. And you'll notice the hook on the rear hook's a little bit smaller as well, which is not on the slider.
Yeah.
So that gives it a little bit more action in the tail. So you can actually catch fish on the G-bomb with no tail. And just a little bit of advice as well about the tail. So you can see how that kind of goes on. So it's just slipped through the middle there, then you push that cap down. Now at the factory, these are all made by hand, and so sometimes they don't push this cap down hard enough, and this will fall off. So make sure you push that down hard. You can even go a step further and tie a little half hitch in the tail, and they stay on really good then.
Yeah. Okay.
So just straight out of the box, you do have to do a little bit of checking before you drop it down. And also, I saw a funny post the other day. Some of our hooks, when we had the open face cardboard packaging, so bit of story about that. So we're trying to change to cardboard packaging, doing our best. When we had no plastic at all, there was holes in the front, so we put hook guards on all our hooks so people didn't get hurt. So some of our lures have still got hook guards on them, so check there's no hook guards on them as well. Yep. Now we have changed our packaging. It's got a bigger one, and it's a special plastic that is compostable, so it's not on them anymore. But the journey of change with our packaging, it's been a mission, man.
So good though. It's about time, There's so much plastic.
So the reason I did it is because I wanted someone to start doing something, and these big Japanese corporate brands who, if I can do it, little old New Zealand guy, fisherman, if I can do it, there's no reason why you big guys can't do it. There's no reason at all.
Yeah.
And now this gives a consumer a choice.
Yeah.
When you're purchasing, do you want to support plastic packaging, or do you want to support the guys who are at least trying we're trying to change it.
So that wasn't plastic, was it?
No.
The window?
So that used to be open.
Yeah.
But we got it was a bit dangerous.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit of plastic.
Yeah.
But it's some special plastic that's not, and it's very, very thin as well.
Recycled stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with these ones, so the first packaging is a cardboard, but it's got a plastic in it. So we're just trying them with the first shipment. It has got some plastic.
Yeah.
But if people like them and we order a lot, like the first shipment's smaller and we start ordering more, we're going to do the expense of changing the packaging, the inner to cardboard as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's a tricky balance between having no plastic and still being able to display it in retail.
Yeah, because it doesn't look as good as shiny plastic.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
But, it's about putting the environment first.
Yeah.
Put the environment first and your packaging won't look as good.
Yeah.
But it depends what you want more. Money,
the
is it money or the environment?
The laws still
work inside, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about putting the environment first.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You've just been through UV
Jelly
and the
Babes
hooks.
Hangers, secret sauce. So, secret sauce. Some people think it works, some people think it doesn't work. I think it works, but I'm probably a bit biased. So secret sauce, how did this come about? So this came about when I met a guy on an iCast show, a fellow fisherman, and I was talking about scents, because the Z-Mans have got this stuff on them. So then Z-Man introduced me to these guys, and I hung out with this guy in America, but he's like, this guy is, goes sports fishing all around the world. He's right into fish scents, and he tests it. And he would tell me the stories of, like, in his early days testing, like, pure tuna oil. He reckons it scares fish away. He said he did a lot of testing to try and find what actually works. So he's developed it so it does attract fish. So a lot of fish scents, or just the basic oils and stuff, don't attract fish.
Yeah.
They scare them away.
Mm.
So he's got all kinds of things in there to make the fish bite. He works with fish farms. So I was speaking to him about a couple of weeks ago, and I said, do you have any scent for fishing around salmon farms? And he goes, I actually work with the salmon farm food guys to make them eat their food. So the next scent you're going to see is for the freshwater guys in the canals, and it's going to be the flavour of the pellets that they're feeding the salmon in the farms.
Yeah.
So we're getting some of that sent down soon. But but different flavours. If you want to know what a workup smells like, get the pilchard one, take the lid off.
That's exactly that smell, eh?
That's what a workup smells like.
Yeah.
So remember that smell, and if you ever smell that when you're out in the Hauraki Gulf, you can smell that smell out of that bottle. Turn your boat into the wind, because there's a workups happened, and the smell's coming down with the wind. So turn your boat into the wind and drive into the wind until you find the workup.
Yep.
And there will be one there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what's your favourite flavour?
Well, I use it a lot for soft baiting mainly, and I use anchovy garlic.
That's mine.
But out in the workups, you should use pilchard, because that's what they're feeding on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then dragging, if you're dragging soft baits, we've got the drag juice, which is made of crustaceans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you smell that, it smells like crayfish.
Yeah.
And then we've got the bloody tuna, because a lot of people like using tuna for bait, and it's quite a popular kind of smell.
Are you using a lot of secret sauce with lures, or more for soft baiting? Eh?
In workup season, no, I don't.
Doesn't need it.
If it's a real tough bite, or maybe one of those real calm, balmy days where it's tough to get anything to bite, I'll put some on.
Yeah.
But I mainly use it for soft baiting.
Yeah. Good stuff. What else we got?
Fish care.
Fish care. It's important.
Important.
Yeah.
So my fish care has changed. I'm bleeding all my snapper.
Yeah.
So,
you're talking about fish care as in after you've killed them, rather than letting them go.
Yeah. So if I'm not going to eat them, I don't. I try not to catch them.
Yeah.
Really. I'm kind of two different modes at the moment. I used to be in the kind of opinion, if you're not going to eat it, you shouldn't try and catch it in the first place.
Yeah.
But now talking to a few different guys, like the guy Manny Fish, who are explaining to me, that we need the big fish in the kelp and stuff. So they've got a, much better chance, Paul, if you let them go than put them in your chili bin. So I'm starting to listen to that theory as well. But I'm bleeding my fish now. Yeah. So my method now is I'll catch the fish. I'll usually hold, if I'm going to keep it, I'll hold it in the gills, my pliers to take the hooks out, icky, and then I've got garden shears, like pruning shears.
Oh, yeah. Across the wings?
Yep, just like you bleed a kawai. Like I find the knife's a bit dangerous and a bit slow, so I've got some good quality garden shears, pruning shears. I just clip them under the throat. They start bleeding. I put them in the live bait tank for at least 15, 20 minutes. And then I keep my chili bin all really clean. I don't want any blood in there.
Yep.
So all nice, fresh salt ice. And then as I pull the fish out of the live bait tank, I give it a really good shake. And when you shake it, all these blood globules come out of the gills. That's kind of the last of the blood. And then I'll place it in the chili bin. And then when I get home, I'll top it up with salt ice. And I'll leave it for at least 24 hours. And what I do is I get my chili bin. I've got an Icy-Tech one. So I put it up on a brick at one end. I take the bung out of one end so all the liquid drains out because I don't want them sitting in the liquid. So it's sitting in a nice dry salt ice. I leave that for at least a day. And then I'll fillet it after that. Yeah. And the difference is it makes quite a lot of difference, especially for the longevity of the fish in your fridge. Yeah. It lasts longer, it tastes better, and it looks better too. So I'm bleeding all my snapper now. Yeah. And with kingfish, so I've got the piece of wire, the ikijimi wire, so I'm doing that with my kingfish now. I try to do it through the head, that's too hard, so I just chop the tail off. And then you've got the spine, just above the spine is a little hole. Get your wire, poke it down there, and take out that nerve as well. Yeah. And I'm doing that with my kingfish. So I'm spending more time looking after my catch. Yeah. Yeah, it's really important to me to respect them.
It's definitely, it makes a difference, eh? You see people just, throwing fish in a fish bin with no ice. Yeah. It definitely makes a hell of a lot. And I reckon
you can, the milky ones, I think it's slowly going away now, but you can tell when you catch one. If you look around the anal area, it's like really skinny. Yeah. And sometimes there's a bit of a green tinge there. So if you get one of those, I just throw them back. Yeah. Just throw them back. I don't keep those ones.
Yeah. We had a few milky ones last week, but nowhere near the numbers that there has been. Eh?
Yeah. Like my past 2 trips, I've had none. Yeah. Past 2 trips, but that's fishing. That's big ones in workups. So. Yeah. 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 It's pretty good. So it's good too. I think it is going away. But I think my theory on that is there's too many snapper and not enough food. Because as you know, mate, there's so many snapper.
Yeah. Yeah. We touched on it before. Your platforms to find information.
So I do put information out on areas of workups when I find them. Yep. These are not like rocks. They're not like someone's favourite spot. They're information that's worth sharing. The way to do that is I mostly put it on the Ocean Angler VIP Club now, which is a Facebook group. So if you search that on Facebook, Ocean Angler VIP Club, you answer the questions, and then we'll let you in. And we're posting stuff on there regularly where we're finding the bait. That's a good way to do it. Our Instagram, there's also a broadcast channel there now, so we're doing it on that as well. So not so much on the main page anymore. You've got to be part of the VIP group. Yeah, but it's really easy to join. Just takes a couple of clicks on your phone and you can join.
The broadcast channel is a new thing on Instagram, eh?
Yeah, so that's a new one.
See a few people.
We saw, so we kind of get the Facebook people and the Instagram people. A lot of them don't change over. Yeah. So we try and service Facebook and Instagram at the same time. Yeah. And all our products, if you're ever lost on how to use them or what to do, our YouTube channel, Ocean Angler TV, there's product videos on there on how to use these products as well. Yeah. So that's a really good source of information as well. And marine deals, you guys, I think you got every product we sell. Yeah. You always take up, and when we say, hey guys, we've got something new coming, you guys jump on board pretty much straight away. Yeah, yeah. So for all the new stuff, marine deals is a real good place to get and they've always got lots of stock too. Which is good. Oh yeah,
I mean, every time you make a new lure, they just seem to work, don't they? So
yeah. Well, I try to make them. I won't just release it unless I think it's better or it does something different, like the headbanger. Yeah. When you first start using this, you're going to Paul, this doesn't catch as many fish. Yeah. Well, it doesn't. Yeah. But it catches bigger fish. Yeah. Yeah. Which is what you're aiming for, right? Which is what I'm aiming for because there's so many fish around. Yeah.
And what have we gotten recently? Oh, your workup pack.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to talk about this?
So the workup pack. So I got people asking what lures do I use, Paul? What am I using at the moment? So I got a bit tired of answering everyone all the time individually. Yeah. So I said, well, let's make a pack. I'll put all my favourite lures in, and you guys can do a little bit of a discount on them. So we knocked a bit of money off the price because we're selling them all together, and then the retailers and you guys are selling them a bit cheaper than buying them individually. So if you just want a pack of all my favourite lures, just go and get the workup pack. Yeah,
find them on the website.
Yeah, real easy. And these are all this isn't made up of what I've got too much of in the warehouse either. No, these are my favourite ones. Yeah. So I get that quite a bit. Paul, can you talk about these other lures, these other colours? Nah.
Yeah.
I'm just always going to give you the information because my theory is I'm looking after the fishermen.
Yeah.
You guys out there are my number one people I'm looking after. So when you buy something like this, it will be the best lures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those tackle boxes are bloody solid.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can drop those things full of lures and they don't break.
So that's another little story in itself. So I found these in China at a trade show there.
Yeah.
And they're not waterproof, they're water resistant. But I noticed all the tackle boxes were clear. And I do notice that sometimes your lures, if you leave them in the sun, they go a bit discoloured, especially the glow ones with the glow paint goes like a bit browny and stuff. So I said, let's use a darker one to stop the UV getting onto your lures. So that's kind of like sunglasses for your lures as well.
Yeah.
So that's the reason behind that one.
Yeah. I reckon we can probably do a giveaway for one of those. I think if we get people to
Giveaway. How do we do that?
Get people to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I think comment in the comments with your favourite ocean angler lure.
How about comment the best period of the tide to go workup fishing?
There you go.
There you go. So
And,
you
and your favourite lure.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So subscribe and tell us. I did tell you several times when's the best time to go workup fishing as far as the tide goes in Auckland.
Yeah.
When is that period?
Yeah.
And you'll be in the draw to win
We'll
it.
draw a name out.
That's pretty nice of you, Alex.
We'll draw a name out on the, where are we now? 20. So we'll give it 2 weeks and
Yeah.
then we'll draw a name out and we'll send you out one of
There you
Paul's workup packs.
Yeah. And have you got a link for them as well somewhere?
Yep. We
In
will
case
put
people just
a
want to buy
link-
one because
Yep.
now's the time to buy it. Workup
Exactly.
season.
Yep. Link
Yeah.
will be in the description of the video.
Sweet.
If you're watching on Spotify, you have to go to YouTube to get the link. Or you
Right.
can just go to the marinedeals.co.nz,
Yeah.
search for Paul's workup pack,
There you go.
and it comes up straight away.
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't think...
Yeah.
What else have we got? What else have we got to cover?
about it.
I think that's about it, eh?
Well, yeah. Well, I want to thank you for having me on your show as well, Alex.
That's good. Yeah.
I've got lots of ideas. So there's
Yeah.
lots of other styles as well.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to get Josh in to talk
Oh,
about
good.
soft baiting.
Soft baiting.
Yeah.
And then my other passion is micro baiting.
Oh yes.
But that'll be more like summertime.
Yeah.
Last part of summer with the anchovy season.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that is like, that's next level fun.
Then we can get into the little soft baits,
Little
the
soft
fleas.
baits. Yeah. So let's talk about that in the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
Let's go get some lunch.
Thanks for
Hungry.
watching, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.